Hello everyone and welcome back to another video today, where today I'm going to be showing you how I pot up my dahlia tubers. Here we have some new ones I've recently purchased from Wilko, but we also have some of the older tubers that we dug up last year. Right then, let me show you the different ways and different containers that I start my tubers off in. So any of my tubers that have dried up, that have gone a little bit soft, I always soak in some water for a few hours. This gets the water flowing in the plant to firm up these tubers quite nicely. Works quite well to get your tubers firm again if they've dried up a little bit. It gets the water flowing as well to help them sprout easier. I also do the same to any shop brought tubers as they've been sitting in a warm shop and they've dried up a little bit. So yeah, that's how I get soft tubers firm again. Any soft, broken, rotten, mouldy tubers or stems are cut straight off. Get rid of those. You know, these little stems here are cut off. When they're sticking up a little bit, I cut them a bit shorter. That makes it look neater and it won't hinder the growth as much as if they were tall, because if they were taller dead stems, it might, hinder the growth of the little shoots from getting up and straight. So yeah, that's how I prepare my tubers. Very simple and easy. So yeah, let me show you how I pot them up now. So one way I start my smaller tubers is in long planters like these, or in little pots like these, or something even as shallow as that, but I prefer to start them in deeper containers. To be honest, I just use what I have at the time. So yeah, I'm going to show you me planting a few in this one. What I'm going to do is probably just put three smaller ones. So I'm just going to use multi-purpose compost. It doesn't matter. It can be last year's like compost from your marigolds and stuff like that in containers, as long as it's not got any fungus or anything growing in it. It's simply just to start off your tubers. Multi-purpose compost is absolutely fine. So I'm just going to grab a bit. All I'm going to do is literally put some in the container. I've got some other multi-purpose compost here. Put it in. It doesn't have to be sieved or anything like that. Make sure your container has drainage though, as you want your tubers to actually grow and you don't want them to rot. But any big lumps you can just break up. So I've about half filled this container here. Move that out of the way. So what I'm going to do now is get some tubers and literally sit them on the top and see how they fit in the container. So this one is about the maximum size that I would put in this container here. So yeah, that's that one. That fits quite nicely. I'm going to get another one now. This is one I've recently brought from the shop. It's a white pom-pom variety. Let's go to make a little hole for that one so it sits in a bit nicer. And then I'm going to get another one, another white one. Looking in this container now, I think I should only have two in here. You've just got to judge the size of your tubers and how you think they will grow. So I'm going to give these ones just a little bit of space. They won't stay in here, this is just to get them started. And then you'll transplant them out into the garden. So we've got two in this one. I think we'll just leave it at that. So now we'll get some more compost and literally put around your tubers. Make sure it's underneath it as well. Just fill it up, pat it down, firm it in. So you don't need to completely bury these. Just make sure it's sticking just a tiny bit up off the surface just to get them sprouted. It doesn't have to be precise. Just don't bury them, and make sure the ends of the tubers are at least bedded deep enough into the compost So that's that. I'm going to label that one and this one. So yeah, make sure you label them so you know what you're planting. So yeah, that's how I do them in a long tray like this. I have another white tuber here. This is quite a new tuber I've just brought. The variety is that I cannot pronounce that. It's from Wilco 150. So make sure you keep a note of what your tubers are. So I'm just going to get some compost. Don't use like soil directly from the garden, from the ground, as that won't drain very well and that may rot the tubers. Even though you can plant them directly in the ground later on, but in containers you don't want to clog it up with water. So yeah, just use multi-purpose compost. You want to keep these in a frost-free place whilst they're growing, as the frost will kill them. But now should be fine. About March time, make that a bit bigger. About March time, in an unheated greenhouse, as long as it doesn't freeze in there, you should be fine. So here we have our tuber, quite a nice tuber. So put that tuber in there, put some compost around it. You know, you can't get them central in the pot, but don't worry about that. So that's how I plant my smaller tubers in pots. They will grow quite nicely. But now I'm going to show you how I plant larger tubers. So I think I'll have to take you outside to do that. So for my large dahlia tubers, I use a fairly large container like this. It's got 2 drainage holes in the bottom that will fit some nice big tubers in there. If your tubers are too big, you can always split them and then you'll get more plants, but I like to keep some of these tubers quite big to form some nice large bushes, bush type dahlias. It's quite a nice set of tubers there. So all I do is get some compost and put in the container like so. Chuck that bag out of the way. I think I'll need some more compost. I think I'll just put some, so putting compost in the container until about halfway, a bit more. There we go. So now I'm going to put this in. You know, it is pushing on the sides, but that shouldn't matter. Looks like this one will need a few bits breaking off, so I think I need to split this one just a little bit for it to fit in. So you could do it in large trays as well, but I like to do them in these tubs as I have lots of these. Uses a bit more compost, but it all goes in the garden anyway. So yeah, I think I'm just going to cut a little bit off there, so you know it's a bit smaller. So now the tuber fits, I can start to fill the container up, but all I did was break a bit off. There we have a new plant now that should grow. We'll pot that up later, but now this fits, so we can just put some compost around it. So all I'm going to do is make sure there's compost under it as well and around it. Make sure you're shoving it all in there nice and firm. You'll be able to tell if you didn't shove it under, because when you water it, you know, it'll all cave in. So make sure it's all under there. Get your dahlias started off nicely like that. I think they'll start quite nicely now. These stems I'll just cut off, trim off a little bit, So yeah, that's how I plant my fairly large tubers. So for this little tuber here, I'm going to put it in there like that. So that should fit quite nicely. I'm going to use some of this compost that's already on the bench to fill this pot up, like so. And then I'll fill around it with some more compost. So this is a nice little free plant that we've got now as well. So these tubers will grow quite large as well, like that. So make sure it's nice and firm. I'll cut this off, or just break it off a little bit. So that tuber will grow nicely. Make sure you label it the same as the one you took it off, so you know what variety that is. So what I'm going to show you here is where your tuber will sprout from. It's hard to see on some of these tubers, but basically around this, like this knuckle area here, there's something called eyes. I'll put some pictures up on screen. It's like little lumps, and that's where your shoots, your stems will come from. So make sure, you know, that's either just above the surface or just below. So yeah, that's where your stems will come from. These are some nice tubers we've got from Wilko, way better than last year's from Wilko, as they wasn't very good last year, but this year they're quite nice. So I'm going to put on some more of these tubers. So I hope you found this video useful, and if so, remember to click that like button and press subscribe with notifications on so you get notified every time I upload a new video. So basically, the aftercare for your dahlias, just keep them watered, don't make them soggy though. So, you know, nice and moist but not soggy, and they will start to sprout. Keep away from frost. When you're ready to plant them in the ground after frost is no longer going to affect your plants for the season, plant them out in your garden bed. Literally just lift them out of the pots and plant them in. I might do some videos on that in the future, so be sure to stay tuned for that. So yeah, I'm going to pot up quite a few of these dahlias today. So apart from that, please tell me in the comment section below if you're growing any dahlias this year, and if so, which type are you growing. So click here to watch my latest video, and click here to watch me plant some cabbages, Brussels and cauliflower. You're just planting some little vegetable seeds. And also click this little icon down here to press subscribe to my channel. That would be very much appreciated. Remember to leave a like, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye bye everybody.